Hey again, this is Justin Alexander Williams, author of Reborn Virtues Constellation. And today's myth, we're going to return to part two of our tales about Coyote. Coyote growing up was one of my favorite uh, mythological beings. I just have always been attracted to trickster characters. I think they're great storytellers. Their stories have a strong moral impetus that really helped raise me to be who I am today and the stories that I like to write. One of them being Reborn Virtues Constellation that you can get on Amazon. So, Coyote in this story is responsible for why death exists and why it's permanent. Basically, the story goes is that people were upset that there were so many people in the world. There was a world without death, and food was becoming scarce. We don't have unlimited resources on Earth. I think that's an interesting commentary on even our time today. And so a council of men come together, and wise men, and say, well, perhaps we should have death for some time. Some people say, well, no, maybe we should have death, but you can immediately come back once resources are replenished. And Coyote says, no, I think death should be the end. And everyone's shocked and says, well, what does that mean? Well, it means you're not coming back, and this world will be for those that enter into it and eventually depart it. It'll be kind of like a great goodbye that you get to say, but also a great hello. Right? And the fact that you are finite will give you even more joy than you think. Only a trickster would really say and think like this. Not because he's trying to fool them, because he's wise. So the people say, no, let's do death, but you can eventually come back when the time is right. We'll have a system, a blood on a leaf that will tell us someone died, and then eventually with a wind, they'll come back. Well, Coyote watches and says, okay, fine. But then the people don't abide by the rules, and people start coming back hurriedly, and then it seemed as though death wasn't even a thing. It was frivolous. And of course, Coyote, being a sentinel of the order of life as well as chaos, he didn't like this. So what he did was he ended their capacity to bring people back. And forever and ever, Coyote is hated in this tradition. People scorn him, people won't feed him, people won't shelter him. They blame him. They pack all the burden on him. Much like in the Hebrew tradition of the scapegoat, right? The Azazel, the goat that ritually they would pack on their metaphorical and physical sins and send into the forest, right? Or the pharmakos in Greek Elysian mystery tradition, where you as the pharmakos would go through a line of people that are beating you and hurting you until you get to the sweet wine and scripture and celebration as an overcomer of obstacles. Coyote in the story is absolutely right, in my opinion, about one thing, and it's not necessarily about death. It's about how we treat things that we cannot control. Death is a thing that should be out of our control in Coyote's mind, just like the sky, and just like the grass, and just like the fact that we were born. And things that are out of our control can be wonderful and beautiful, and they don't always last forever. But in that transience, in the sense that we know there's a beginning and an end, we live fully and we live boldly. In many mythological traditions, especially when people reflect upon them, it seems like there's a jealousy from even the gods to humans, that the gods will live forever, and thus they waste their time, they're frivolous. In Hinduism and Buddhism, this is often talked about, how you will ascend to a godhood, and then you will no longer build up karma. You will no longer live dharma in the right way. You'll just relax and do nothing, and thus you will lose your godhood and start the cycle again. Humans are envied because our lives are short, because we're not here forever. And when we die, Coyote doesn't necessarily say where we go or if we go anywhere. But Coyote is kind of asking you to trust that if Coyote exists, maybe something else exists too. And if people can die in this story and come back, well, they must have gone somewhere. So the greater spiritual meaning is that if you are a person of faith, or if you're not a person of faith, what is important to understand is that don't complain about things always not lasting forever. When I was a kid, I used to always think that summer camp really sucked because I made so many great friends, and then by the time we get to the end of August, I may never see any of them again. And that sadness really would stick with me throughout the school year. But you know what that sadness did? It made me sign up to go to camp the next year and the year after that. And then what I found, my Sifu used to say, my master when I was a Buddhist disciple in the city, he used to say, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, every day, right? That for me, summer camp was so great that I treat everything like summer camp now. Every moment I breathe, I think it's like summer camp. And every person I meet is like a camp friend. And this is a valuable lesson. That does not happen if Coyote does not do what he does. Really teaching people that it's not about death. It's about really, truly embracing life.